What in the world happened here? Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that soundproofed button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. And so evidently, Soundproof has just been going nuts recently. And this card is definitely one of the more unique little tool options that we have. So Soundproof says this card can only be activated at the start of main phase 1 and only if you control no face-up synchro monsters. Neither player can special summon a synchro monster until your opponent's next in phase. Okay. Yeah, I understand. We are in an era right now where synchros are kind of getting some major recognition back into the game. I'm not saying that synchros are like the broken talk of the town, but the realistic situation right now is, people, that as more and more of this synchro good stuff comes out, you got people that are still freaking out about synchro emergency existing as a card. So, you got people out here that are going to try to find some interesting way to try to do things with it. Well, Soundproof technically gives you a counterplay to that. Now, it's one of those weird cards that you are going to have to do it at the beginning of your main phase. This and Pot of Extract, for example, are going to conflict with each other because of the way that they actually work. And I do think that, a card like this that hasn't been reprinted yet, look at Gravity Collapse formerly. That was another card that, until it actually had its reprint, it was just a chaotically broken, expensive card. I think what we're kind of seeing here is just good cards being forced up in price over time just because they're extremely usable. And I hope that this isn't going to be a consistent thing across the market, but I do probably think that until we see a reprint with this, people are going to pick this up as a niche card. I mean, $10 is already stupid expensive for this, but all right, market, you know what you're doing. Next up is the Stare of the Snake Hair. Now, this one isn't really all that surprising to me, but we've been having little bumps up in discussions with the Pumpkin cards. Right now, Pumpkins are, as far as I remember, they're not pointed in Genesis format in any capacity, and the Stare of the Snake Hair is probably one of the better cards that you could kind of pick up and actually consider wanting to play with the deck in general, because it's a free discard at a Call the Haunted, or technically a Spell and Trap card that mentions it. And if this thing is special, you can target an attack position monster your opponent controls. That face-up monster can't attack, its effects are negated, and it can't be used as material for basically anything except for a tribute summon, which is hilarious. But I mean, that's what the card is supposed to do. But when you're dealing with searchers like this that can act on generic accesses, you're dealing with a consistent $3 to potentially $4 card right now. Now, like I said, Maze of Mudaros has been a pretty interesting set to kind of watch in its track record. A lot of people have been excited to just play the Call the Haunted deck. It's the Odeon effect. A lot of people saw the Odeon cards touchdown. They were excited, but this is the case of, I like Call the Haunted, I want to splash this into these different decks. We recently saw a Lightsworn list come through that was playing the cards to try to build up and take advantage of those different tools that it had going for it. And honestly, it was a pretty cool concept. I don't hate the idea of what they were trying to do with it. It's just, I don't know where the competitive viability of this engine is going to be over time, because everywhere I look, I don't see results for it, but I continue to see more and more people spinning their head and going, oh, this looks really, really fun. I mean, sure, yes, it does, but all right. Darklord Evening Star. This one has just had a metric crap ton of sales. Like, a lot of sales. I was just looking at this thing over the last 2 days, and it is just turning through page after page, and I'm really just shocked about this. Now, I mean, it's 2 level 6 or higher Dark Fairy monsters. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. I mean, on a 3K tower or a 3K can't be targeted. I mean, that's not bad. And then on Fusion Summon, you get to set a Darklord Spell and Trap card. Or set a Darklord spell and a Darklord trap card, and then pay 1,000, target a Darklord spell in your graveyard, and apply that effect. It does everything that, you would want the traditional Darklord stuff to be able to do. But once again, we turn the page here and we kind of are like, why are we seeing so many Darklord cards suddenly, why is all this hype happening? In the very early stages in the meta, we did see a lot of initial hype for this stuff out of Japan. Japan cooked up so many different variations of this. I think one of my favorites was just, the Ostionato build, where you were just using the good generic scale good stuff of fairies to use the sub package. Technically, the only thing you care about is like the fairy locks within the deck. This is also why, we've seen recently the orange light and green lights have suddenly exploded up in value. And, those cards have just been going crazy over time. You can also thank Genesis format for that as well. But that's a story for another day. So keep an eye on this Darklord stuff. The amount of people that have been picking up Evening Stars, whether or not it's for a casual or a competitive deck, is something kind of worth it to keep a little bit of an eye on and at least, acknowledge that we have some decent movements happening out here, because it's something. This brings us to Time Wizard, the chibi. I'm actually pretty intrigued with this one, honestly. So for most of this set's release, most people looked at the chibis and they all were like, oh, these cards are worthless, I don't want to collect these. And then I've watched the Time Wizard over the last week spike from $2 suddenly to having nearly a $6 price point out here, with just it getting eradicated. And then we're already seeing things like the Wing Karibos are starting to shape down to 31 listings. The Sparkman and some of the other ones are doing decently well. I mean, they're not disappearing, but it's just like suddenly the Wing Karibo and suddenly the Time Wizard. I mean, to be fair, Time Wizard is more of a fan favorite-esque card over time, which I'm not necessarily surprised about that. But, to suddenly start seeing people going after these chibi cards after the community has sat here and complained about them is hilarious to me, because it's so counterproductive to what you're really expecting to be seeing in the market for this. So once again, the other side of Maze of Muertos, where you're getting, people wanting to start collecting. I mean, maybe this is just the collector's market just necessarily rebooting itself right now, where we're starting to see different sectors coming back to life as new people are kind of turning their heads here, wanting to explore the ideas or the exploration of these sets. Either way, people probably see chibis. They're like, oh, hey, this is a unique artwork. I want to pick this up, add this to collection. Maybe there is something to be had with this, which, I mean, agreeably so. But, don't underestimate collectors out here. They are the fundamental driving point of the market as to, how things are able to still keep going and why, cards are actually collectible. And then we have the Sky Striker Alt Art Rhoda situation. So if you've not saw what has happened to the reinforcement of the army over the weekend, it started like 175, kind of creeped on down, and then Sunday morning I looked and the card was at 1 listing. Starlight Rhoda's alt arts have just been completely cratered off the mark. As of filming this, lowest available is $240, and we have sales at $250, $235. What a crazy ride to be seeing here, people. And, the Camellia is also kind of following suit here as well. The Camellia shot back up to the $240 mark. These legendary modern decks, people are chasing the Starlights. I guess this is just kind of a little bit of a heads up here as time is going to go here to, we got to monitor these Starlights. We got to see, how time is going to treat these, because to be fair, I mean, the legendary modern decks themselves are great. They're such a good entry product, but on top of having the ability to pull an alternate card to be able to, add to your collection, yeah, that's an entirely other story that I am just super excited to see how that unfolds. So definitely some very, very, very interesting things happening with the legendary modern decks. So what in the world happened here today? Well, I'm expecting some other crazy things to kind of creep on along here and kind of see where things are going. So please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back in the day, guys. Patrons! Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.